Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics, and welcome to another edition of my Detroit Sports Show right here on blogtalkradio.com from the northern outskirts of a small city called McBain, Michigan, which is up north, which is in the northern lower Michigan Peninsula regions. Just one second here, I'm messaging with one Alandis Hunter who just became friends with me on Facebook. So, I'm your host, Taylor Phillips, and this is the Lions edition. If you have any opinions on the Lions or want to join in on the entire conversation with me, you can call in at 646-478-4837. Again, that's 646-478-4837. This show is 15 to 30 minutes long as always. I can stop if you want me to, or if I want to, whichever. And then when the show is ended, it'll be archived because it is recorded. So you can all listen to it again and again as many times as you want. Again, 646-478-4837 is the guest line number. So if you want to write it down on some kind of piece of paper, that would be nice. You can also check me out on Facebook, Taylor Phillips, my Detroit sports page. Taylor Phillips's Detroit sports page. My personal Facebook page, Taylor Phillips. Profile is Taylor Phillips at facebook.com/Phil with 2 L's, number 1 DT. My Detroit sports page is at facebook.com/Taylor's sports page. Taylor's sports with 2 S's in between. And no apostrophe. I don't think that would count. And also, you can check out my Detroit sports group and join in. Taylor Phillips's Detroit sports group. I'm also on Twitter at DT2Phillips. You can also search me on LinkedIn and connect with me. I am also simulcasting on YouTube. Taylor Phillips via Google Plus, and there is also a chat window on blogtalkradio.com for you to comment your opinions. Now, before we begin, before I get to the subject at hand, here are the guidelines for all the listeners of tonight's show. Number 1, if you have called in, stay on the line so I can get to you for a talk. If you hang up by mistake, not a big deal. Just dial this number, 646-478-4837, and then stay on the line, and you'll have a total of 30 minutes to do so until the show concludes. Number 2, keep it very clean. No profanity, vulgarity, graphic violence talk, criticism of the host, distasteful disregard, or anything below the belt of any subject matter. Number 3, treat each other with respect. Don't verbally abuse one another, or I'll mute you for the remainder of the show. Number 4, if you don't know much about Detroit sports, you can still just listen to my show for education and entertainment. Number 5, stay on the topic with me. You can still talk about anything you want as long as it's about the Detroit Lions. And number 6, I will ask at least one question as the show rolls along. All right, how about that Lions victory? They beat the Packers 40-10. Let's check out what happened. First half, the Lions' first possession, they turned the ball over. And just 1 second, and they turned the ball over with a Reggie Bush fumble. And then the Packers punt the ball away, and then the Lions on their second drive take it in the red zone again, only this time to go 3 and out and kick in a field goal, a short one by David Akers. And the Lions led 3-0. The Packers would strike back with just a field goal of their own to tie it up at 3. But then when Matthew Stafford had the ball inside his own zone, the Packers forced the Lions' second turnover of the game and forced it and turned it into a touchdown to take the lead 10-3. I'm trying to find the entire scoring summary here. Game info. Sorry, just bear with us for 1 minute here. Just bear with me for 1 minute here. I got 2 people messaging me on my Facebook here. All right. It's actually my girlfriend Nikki Jensen just messaging me, and I told her I'm hosting my show if she wants to listen. She said sweet. But back to the summary here. After an awful start. The Packers were playing without Aaron Rodgers, and that was sure a drag for them. So they had to start Matt Flynn, and he did not get his offense going at all. Their offense only managed to score 3 points, while their defense only scored 7. And that was it. Let's see. Okay, I think. Okay, well, the Packers field goal by Mason Crosby was scored from 54 yards out. That was the field goal that tied the game. Sorry, I'm trying to get the box score in it, and I just can't seem to get it.
Turnovers a real story here today. First quarter, Reggie Bush up the middle.
This what bothers me, because Reggie before this game said, "I will not fumble any more this entire season." And look what happened.
He didn't intend to.
Now there's the... Okay, let's go to the highlights here, and...
Those things happen. What? Yeah, those things happen. You miss. I did miss some. Very few. Very few.
Reggie Bush fumbled the ball in the red zone, and then Stafford coughed it up to Burnett, who scored the only Packer touchdown, which is on defense.
Former first-round pick at USC, knocking it out. Aaron Rodgers liking it. The Packers on top 10-3.
But then Stafford
is intercepted by Tramon Williams looking for Chris Durham. That's 3 turnovers, not even halfway through the second quarter.
And then Stafford threw an interception right. That completed 3 turnovers right there. They were at the Packer 44. Javon Williams intercepted the ball at about the 34-yard line. But then on the next drive, Stafford threw to Reggie Bush just past midfield, and Bush caught the ball. And then Matthew Stafford threw to Jeremy Ross in the end zone from 5 yards out. with 4:34 left, 4:33 left to go in the second quarter. The Lions tied the game at 10. Then as we reach the 2-minute warning, Bush from 20 yards out, or from 23 yards out, takes it inside the 1. And then on the next play, Bush would get the ball again, try the in around left route and take it into the end zone untouched. The Lions led 17-10. We go to the third quarter. Matthew Stafford to Calvin Johnson, complete from 20 yards out. Touchdown Detroit Lions, as Dan Miller would say. 24-10 with over 9 minutes to go in the third.
How'd it go for Matt Flynn today? It didn't go like that, because that's the last time he faced him, and those are some nice numbers. He had some
Matt Flynn
either that or he couldn't see where to go with the ball, because he was
with the ball.
a lot, dropped by Lewis Dillon.
Back to the beginning of the third quarter, he gets sacked once, and then with just over 9 minutes left, Flynn fumbles the ball. It gets stripped, and the Lions pounce on it. And then there's another flag on the play. Flynn throws, and it's intercepted by DeAndre Levy in his own territory with 5:33 left. Less than a minute left, and Ndamukong Suh tackles Matt Flynn all the way to the back of the end zone for a safety. How about that? A safety. Man, Suh just bowled through the Packers' offensive line double team, and he managed to get to Matt Flynn, who just couldn't find anybody. The Lions led 26-3. Joyke Bell would score right after that to make it 33-10 with a touchdown, and then Ogletree with a nice catch from 20 yards out. Exact same distance Calvin Johnson would go with his touchdown reception. And that made it 40-10, and that was the final, folks.
Listen up, NFL fans. Get access to NFL Games radio broadcasts live online. Choose between...
See if we have any callers left. Or any callers on the air? No, we don't.
Listen up, NFL fans.
Here, I can sign in here.
Listen up, NFL fans. Get access and sign up today. Listen up.
That's weird. Yeah, because the game's over. Well, anyway, like I said, I included Joyke Bell scoring his touchdown to make it 33-10. It was from 1 yard.
Showing you everything. They're showing you how dynamic they can be. Some of the mistakes they'll make during the course of the game. There's
just beginning the fourth quarter. Stafford hands off to Joique Bell up the middle. And with 13:06 to go, Joique Bell does his touchdown dance in the end zone, making it 32-10 with the extra point being kicked up and perfectly by David Akers, making it 33-10.
I mean, he's a road grader there in the middle, and they've been road grading everybody in this one. Javon Williams picks up a flag.
Javon Williams at the end of the play makes contact with an official, physical contact. I want to take you back to.
Flynn takes a safety, and it's Sue.
Yeah, I'm watching this Ndamukong Suh safety on Flynn right here. Just amazing.
Ndamukong Suh gets the safety, and that's sack number 7. Ndamukong Suh, he's essentially splits the double team. He gets right in the middle of that offensive line and straight shot to Matt Flynn, and once again, no chance. He went right through T.J. Lang, who's now at center, and Marshall.
So I want to look ahead a bit.
Who's in at right guard. The defensive front for the Green Bay Packers, they know what that is. That's a safety, and Ndamukong Suh was sure to just place Matt Flynn onto the turf and not draw. Well,
wow, just an amazing. Just an amazing play by Suh and an amazing victory for the Lions. I want to check their next game here. Yeah, it's at the Philadelphia Eagles next Sunday. It's not this upcoming Sunday. It's the Sunday after that. It's at 1. It's at Lincoln Financial Field. It's on week 14. And Tim Twentyman and Mike O'Hara will preview that right now.
Tim Twentyman and Mike O'Hara here with DetroitLions.com. And Mike, it's been a long time since the Lions walked off this field behind us with a victory on Thanksgiving. And it was a pretty dominant victory today.
It really was, you know, and for most of the first half, it was sort of like being on a plane, you know, it kept circling and circling. Are we ever going to land? Because they were just beating the heck out of the Packers and had nothing to show for it except a 10-3 deficit. And it's like Reggie Bush said after the game because of the turnovers. He said, we're pretty good when we get out of our own way, and he's right. But that was just a thorough beating. It really was.
You know, one of the things I liked was the play of the defensive line. You know, they've gotten a lot of criticism this year, maybe especially along the edges of not, you know, forcing enough pressure. But today they were dominant. And what I really loved is the fact that coming off, you know, Josh Sitton's comments about them, you know, being scumbags and dirtbags and the other things that he said this week, they came out of the tunnel as one unit during the the introduction of the starters, and I just thought that set the tone for the whole game. Look, we're together. Let's go, and it really started from the opening possession.
You know, I've always thought that the Lions ought to get tired of being everybody's punching bag and don't just act like everything is okay and it doesn't bother us and all that. No, get bothered and do something about it. Yeah, and I thought that was a good sign, and more than that, I like the way they met at the quarterback, too. They had 7 sacks of Matt Flynn. They held their running game to just, you know, what did they have, 30 yards, 34 yards?
Lions had more sack yards, 37, than the Packers had rushing yards, 24. I mean, that tells you about how dominating this game was for them on defense.
And you came up with a great statistic, too, that it's, 6 straight games with less than 62 yards rushing. That hasn't been done since the 1930s.
And it's the 8th straight game they haven't allowed a rushing touchdown. Same thing dates back to the 30s, 1934. So when you talk about this team in limiting, opponents on the ground, they're forcing people to be one-dimensional. Now teams have had success throwing the football against them, but I thought Bill Bentley, Rasheed Mathis, and Darius Slay, the rookie, played really well today, and there was just nothing going for this Packers offense all day.
It looked to me like Darius Slay played with more confidence as the game went on. Now, he got beat late in the game, but for a long game, but at least he was in position to make a play, just didn't quite finish it off. But one thing I like about him, he's got size and he can tackle and he can run, and those are important things for a cornerback. Now he's got to be, I like him if he's a man-to-man cover guy. Talking about Darius Slay and Bill Bentley, for whatever reason, he's a very quick kid and he makes tackles. That's another thing I like about him.
Both guys tackle well. That's an important part of this defense, of this scheme. You have to be able to tackle in space. But you mentioned it off the top, the turnovers, and that's still something that this team needs to clean up. 17 turnovers now in their last 18 quarters. Amazingly, they're 3-2 over that stretch, Mike, but I think that's maybe more of an anomaly than anything else. They cannot continue to give teams chances and miss out on opportunities in close games if they're going to ultimately host a playoff game right here behind us.
Well, and when you talk about that, look, to me, I think a loss would have just almost been a knockout blow, because it would have put them in third place behind the Packers and the Bears, with 4 games to go, and the Packers and Bears played each other in the last game, so you can't gain on one of the teams. So I think, it's like Matthew Stafford said, they knew how big this game was, and he stood right there in the locker room before they went out and said, guys, it's time to play ball. Talk is cheap. I think right there we found out today who the leader of this ball club is.
I think we did.
That was actually the Week 13 wrap-up by Tim Twentyman and Mike O'Hara. I was actually going to preview the Lions and the Eagles, but I guess we don't have enough content for that. Let me go to prideofdetroit.com real quick before I wrap things up. But David Akers, at one point of the game in the second quarter, missed a 31-yard field goal kick wide right. And just another one of many missed field goals by David Akers, which brings me the question, should the Lions bring back Kickalicious Havard Rugland? Well, the Lions team is backing up David Akers, but they are, especially Jim Schwartz, who expressed his confidence in him after yesterday's game. But the Lions reportedly will be working out kickers on Monday. They can take any kicker that is worthy of hitting very long field goals. So that's about it. I actually have no preview of the Lions and the Eagles quite yet, but I will get to that next week on the next Lions edition, next Friday at midnight. So tune in tomorrow at midnight for the Red Wings edition of Taylor's Detroit Sports Show. Until then, this is Taylor Phillips saying TTFN, ta-ta for now.